Hi friends, today I'm going to be doing a video on books that I'm still thinking about. So this can be books that are more recent that I've read or a little while ago that I've read. I've got a bit of a mixture. I don't think any of these books are like years and years and years ago, but they're kind of in the last couple of years or so you might have heard me talk about these already on my channel. They're not on any particular order, they've just been playing in my mind, and it's like I don't really reread books, but if there was a chance that I was going to reread something, it might possibly be out of this stack that I would lean towards. So the first one on my stack, again not in any specific order, just how I've balanced them on the table, is George Orwell's 1984. So this is one that took me, well, a while to get to, as with everything, admittedly, but this is a book that I've been wanting to get to for a good while, just because I don't know, I feel like it's one of those books that everyone tends to study at school, and I never really studied it, but I was very intrigued in the concept and themes that was around it. And I was very familiar with the term of Big Brother's watching you and that sort of thing. So we're basically following this, it's like a dystopian version of our world, and it's kind of scary at how accurate it could be, but yeah, it's just kind of frightening, to be honest. Winston Smith works for the Ministry of Truth in London, chief city of Airstrip 1. Big Brother stares out from every poster. The thought police uncover every act of betrayal. When Winston finds love with Julia, he discovers that life does not have to be dull and deadening, and awakes to new possibilities. Despite the police helicopters that hover and circle overhead, Winston and Julia begin to question the party. They are drawn towards conspiracy, yet Big Brother will not tolerate dissent, even in the mind. For those with original thoughts, they invented Room 101. So they literally, like, if there is a historical event, for example, in this world, well, it's our world really, but a reimagining of it, I guess. If there was a historical event that didn't go in their favour, or for example, their, what do they call it? There's like the oceanic part, I don't know, it's split into three main parts of the world, and if they decide to change loyalties with another big three of the world, they wipe out and act like nothing ever happened, like they'd always been loyal to each other. It's so strange, really messed up. I can't really remember stars that I gave these books, but they'll probably be between like a 4 and a 5 most likely. I think maybe one of them's a 3, but it's enough to stick to my head. Anyway, this was just absolutely frightening, complex, intense, just it really got into my mind. Like, it's like, what do they call it, a totalitarian kind of world, I think that's the term they used, and it's just frightening. It really is. Like, everything is rationed, the way, like, your career aspects, the way you love, everything is chosen for you, decided. You can't have these free thoughts, even that's monitored. Like, oh my goodness, it was a great read, a scary read, and a necessary read, I would say. Next up, I have Sarah Perry's Melmoth. Oh my goodness, this one was phenomenal. This is, it's kind of got a quiet unfolding to it, but it's very reminiscent of old school gothic literature. It's creepy, it's eerie, it's atmospheric, sorry, and it just was very powerful. 22 years ago, Helen Franklin did something she cannot forgive herself for, and she has spent every day since barricading herself against its memory. But the sheltered life she has crafted for herself is about to change. A strange manuscript has come into her possession, and its contents have the power to unravel every strand of her fragile safety net. It's filled with testimonies from the darkest chapters of human history, which all record sightings of a tall, silent woman in black, with unblinking eyes and bleeding feet. Melmoth, the loneliest being in the world. Condemned to walk the earth forever, she tries to beguile the guilty and lure them away for a lifetime wandering alongside her. Everyone that Melmoth seeks out must make a choice, to live with what they've done or be led into the darkness. Despite her skepticism, Helen can't stop reading or shake the feeling that someone or something is watching her. As her past finally catches up with her, she too must choose which path to take. This was so haunting. Oh my gosh, it just took me on this adventure. I say adventure loosely because, as I say, it is a more slow unfolding of the story, and it's very atmospheric in the way of its telling. However, it's just this, I was just completely enthralled with what was happening, and kind of connecting together the psychological thriller really of this Melmoth character, and kind of digesting and learning what our characters were learning about this character and how it was affecting their mental well-being, the guilt that was rising up, what this person did to kind of be spinning in this downward cycle. And it was just, yeah, phenomenal. I would like to read more by Sarah Perry, and I have the Essex Serpent yet to read, but I'm hoping I really enjoy that one too. Okie dokie, so another book I've got here is a first in potentially a duology. I've got the second book at least, but I haven't seen anything about a third book, so it might be a duology, and that is Alexandra Bracken's The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding. So this one was fun. It's like a YA kind of fantasy story about this young boy who finds himself attached to a demon. So it says here, Prosper Redding always thought he was the only unexceptional Redding in his annoyingly remarkable family. As he's about to find out though, the truth is much more dangerous. Because the Redding family luck is down to a pact Prosper's great something grandfather made with the demon. A pact that he broke. And guess what? Demons aren't big fans of forgiveness. They prefer revenge. This was so much fun, from learning about this whole broken pact, to learning more about Prosper specifically, to learning about the family and their secrets. Oh my god, it was so much fun. Very excited to eventually get around to the sequel, because the sequel follows more, I don't know if it's necessarily a direct sequel or more prequel or what, but it follows the demon that's in this book, and we get to learn about the demon's life, probably before Prosper, probably the origins of this pact. So that'd be cool, just for more context and like world building and scope, you know. But this one was such a fun book. The book that I'm always thinking about, oh, it's such a melancholy read, and I was in tears. I was in tears. Hopefully I've been popping up relative videos if if at all I remember, because I've definitely done a video for this and Melmoth specifically. Other things might just be in wrap-ups. But my goodness, this is Orange by Ichigo Takano. It's a manga, volume 1. My gosh. This just is phenomenal. Really phenomenal. So, a plea from the future. On the day that Naho begins 11th grade, she receives a letter from herself 10 years in the future. At first she writes it off as a prank, but as the letter's predictions come true one by one, Naho realises the letter might be the real deal. Her future self tells Naho that a new transfer student, a boy named Kakeru, will soon join her class. The letter begs Naho to watch over him, saying that only she can save Kakeru from a terrible future. Who is this mystery boy, and can she save him from his destiny? Oh my god, it's just the friendship in here, the emotional ties that I had to pretty much every character, and I just wanted to protect them all with my heart basically, and to sort of see the change of that friendship on this transfer student Kakeru, and kind of seeing coming out of himself and just seeing how the story progresses. And it's a very emotional read, super emotional, super deep, and just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, this is one that definitely lives rent-free in my mind quite frequently. Alright then, we're getting down to the last 3 of the books that I am always thinking about, and the third to last one is A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. This one I read fairly recently, maybe like last year or so, and this is a really cool one. So off the bat you'd assume it is a story about Bob Marley, but really it's about all the interconnecting and distant and, you know, near characters surrounding him and the event of his attempted murder. So it says, Jamaica 1976, 7 gunmen storm Bob Marley's house. Machine guns blazing. The reggae superstar survives, but the gunmen are never caught. Spanning 3 decades and crossing continents, A Brief History of 7 Killings chronicles the lives of a host of unforgettable characters. Slum kids, one-night stands, drug lords, girlfriends, gunmen, journalists, and even the CIA. Gripping and intensive, ambitious and mesmerising. It's one of the most remarkable and extraordinary novels of the 21st century. And the thing that I like that really kind of captures it is that it's a dazzling display of masterful storytelling exploring this near mythic event. And that is exactly what it is. He basically takes these, you know, these characters, these ideas of these characters, and runs with it. He kind of builds these stories around their lives and where they were at the time of this monumental, like, attempted murder, and he expands so much more than that. As it says on the back, you know, 3 decades across continents. It is a deep book. It definitely took me a while, but oh my god, amazing story, amazing. Just that character study of a plethora of people, phenomenal. Alright, the second to last book now that I'd like to talk about is Lanny by Max Porter. This one, oh my gosh, this was beautiful, so beautiful, and so tiny as well, but beautiful nonetheless. And it's a weird one because it's like, I don't really want to give too much away, but at the same time I want people to read it. Like, it's magical. Right, let me just read you the synopsis. Not far from London there is a village. This village belongs to the people who live in it, and to those who lived in it hundreds of years ago. It belongs to England's mysterious past and its confounding present. It belongs to Mad Pete, the grizzled artist, to ancient Peggy, gossiping at her gate, to families dead for generations, and to those who have only recently moved here. But it also belongs to dead Papa Toothwort, who has woken from his slumber in the woods. Dead Papa Toothwort, who is listening to them all. So basically, we have this sort of mythical embodiment of this particular village, and we're following Lanny, who's our main character, and he's very young for the majority of the book. He is almost seen as an otherworldly child. Like, he seems to be so in tune with the nature and things around him, but also he's seen as weird because he doesn't act like the other children, and he's not into the more, you know, typical things that young boys should be into, you know, so to speak. And so people do think, they talk about him in an endearing way, like, oh, he's so like airy fairy and sweet and, you know, one with nature, but at the same time they're like, ew, he's different, like, that's weird, he'll grow out of it soon. Anyway, this embodiment of the village, this dead Papa Toothwort, kind of takes this fascination with Lanny, because him being this like spiritual embodiment, I guess, is obviously at one with nature, and so you kind of see Lanny's life through the eyes of him and through the storytellings of other characters, and it's just this beautiful ensemble of this really marvelous story. It's just so magical, and I can't really fully express how much I enjoyed this, but definitely give it a go. I mean, it's only a short book anyway, so it shouldn't take too much of your time, but my goodness, this has been an impactful book, like, in my mind, always thinking about it. And I didn't realise at the time, I think, but the author wrote Grief is a Thing with Feathers, and I've been wanting to read that one as well. And then the last book that I've been thinking about non-stop is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and this was actually the book that kind of sparked the idea for this video. I've just been looking at it every now and then. It passes my eyesight as I look at my bookshelf and gaze at it lovingly, like book lovers tend to do, and I just keep thinking about it, and I'm like, wow, that book really did leave an impression on me. I feel, I don't know if this is just being dramatic, but I just feel different after reading this. And maybe I've calmed down and settled into my normal way of living now, but every now and then I'll catch myself and just really think like, wow, this book, I feel like, changed me, like, internally. And it's just, it makes me want to cry a little bit. Like, it's a phenomenal read, it really is. And this was my first Matt Haig book. I've got a few more that I want to read. One of them's The Humans, and one of them's The Last Family something. Anyway, this one says, between life and death there is a library. When Nora Seed finds herself in the Midnight Library, she has a chance to make things right. Up until now, her life has been full of misery and regret. She feels she has let everyone down, including herself, but things are about to change. Books in the Midnight Library enable Nora to live as if she has done things differently. With the help of an old friend, she can now undo every one of her regrets as she tries to work out her perfect life. But things aren't always what she imagined they'd be, and soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question: what is the best way to live? This was absolutely phenomenal. I felt, as I keep saying, changed. It's that realistic question that I feel like everybody has come across at least once in their life, as if, what if I had did things differently? You know, many people do have regrets. Many people wish they would have changed even the slightest thing to perhaps sway a different outcome, and this book really goes into that. It goes into mental health, it goes into suicidal tendencies, it goes into so much. And I think at the heart of it, it's like, well, if I was to just change this, I'd have the perfect life. Maybe if I was to do this, things wouldn't have worked out this way, or this would have worked out in my favour. And it really breaks down that kind of almost toxic way of thinking, because it takes on that thinking, that line of thought takes on something that is positive, of like, oh dang it, like maybe if I did something different I could have seen this outcome. And you know, the goal is to eventually build upon yourself and work out a way to be the best you. But when you dwell on it, when you dwell on your regrets, when you dwell on things that you can't physically and possibly change, that's when it becomes toxic. You believe you're not good enough, you believe that you're stuck this way, there's no point trying, you're letting everyone down, like our main character feels, you're just in a rut. And that's when it just deteriorates your mental health. And this book just really discussed that so beautifully, so respectfully. Just I just felt so seen in this book, honestly, and I think a lot of other people will as well. So if you haven't read this, definitely give that a go. So that is it for this video. Here are all the books that are always running through my mind, living rent-free in my brain. I'm always thinking about, even after, you know, months of not reading them, years sometimes. And I hope that you've enjoyed these recommendations. If you read any of these books, do let me know what you thought about them. Perhaps I've swayed you to pick them up if you were umming and erming and not too sure and a bit hesitant on them. I'd love to know that too. But nevertheless, that is the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall catch you in another video soon. Bye.